Being a doctor could be the worst profession in Malaysia.
A total of 3,046 contract doctors resigned in the last 3 years, according to the Health Ministry.
This profession that was once something that every parent are proud of when their kids become doctor. Today, it's one of the most overstretched and underpaid professions. Some more need to work in a high-risk and high-pressure environment. Really difficult, especially for junior doctors. And all this even led to 2021's Hatau Doctor event, where many doctors went to the street to protest on their working environment. So, how it all came to this, and why does it matter to us? Well, to trace back the history, in the early 2000s, many doctors actually left government practice to go into private service for higher pay and all sorts of other reasons. And because of that, instead of finding out why all these doctors leaving there and how we can improve the working environment so that doctors will prefer to stay in government service, Malaysia's decision was kind of to produce more medical students to flood the market. And because of that, between the late 1990s and 2000s, more and more medical schools were built in Malaysia. In fact, we had 32 local medical schools. That is more medical schools than Australia has. So with more medical schools means more people studying to be doctor and more people graduate as doctor, right? So for these doctors to complete their education and to become a doctor, they have to do their placement in government hospital. But since there are too many of them, government hospitals do not have enough position for permanent doctor. So they came up with a brilliant idea of the contract system. So in December 2016, the Ministry of Health came up with the brilliant idea of the contract system. The whole thing was basically a temporary measure to manage a backlog of medical students, shortage of permanent position, and the lack of training programs. And this is how the contract system works. Now, junior doctor receive a 5-year contract, 3 years as a houseman and 2 years as a MO. At the houseman level, which is called the UD41 grade, their starting pay is 2,947 ringgit. Then when they become an MO, their salary will be 3,397 ringgit. That's an increment of about 400 plus ringgit lah. So imagine this, you spend so much of money to study and become a doctor and only given a 5-year contract. No job security! Walao eh! How would you feel? Furthermore, let's not forget, one of the most important things about being a doctor is that they need a lot of training and guidance. Because just by studying a degree in medicine doesn't make you a good doctor. It just gives you a license to practice. To be a good doctor and qualified one, you really need guidance from senior doctors. But remember, there were too many contract doctors. Because of that, there was inadequate training, lack of guidance from senior doctors. And let's not forget, there's also the possibility that the previous senior doctors themselves were not well trained enough to give guidance to the younger doctors. So many of these junior doctors under contract will have to face this high pressure working environment all by themselves. The learning curve is just steep. And let's not forget, you guys do know that for a doctor to develop their career, one of the things is to be specialized, right? Dala, we just said not enough training. Do you think there's enough training space to be specialist somewhere? You see, when this whole contract system was created, right, one of the flaws of it is that it kind of limits career progression. Because after 5 years, there's no guarantee you get a permanent doctor position. What more? Getting trained to be a specialist. And this is really important, and it matters to us even when we are not doctors, because Malaysian is becoming an aging society. More and more people are becoming older and older, and the kind of medical needs that are needed is in the area of specialization. According to experts, it is suggested that we need 23,000 specialists in the next 6 years. But our system limits the number of specialists to 8,972 specialists. So, because of all this, many doctors started making noise, right? Complaining, giving feedback. But in reality, actually without adequate funding, it is hard to implement all these improvement that's needed and policies and plans, right? So apparently in Malaysia, healthcare expenditure is only 5.1% of our GDP. That is below the recommended 6 to 7%. Well, with the less money, that's why it limits our Ministry of Health's budget on salary and allowances. So what to do? It's not like government don't want to do something, but really not spending enough money. So nothing much was really done until COVID-19 happened. The pandemic and the lockdown truly highlighted the flaw in the contract doctor system. During this time, contract doctors worked tirelessly in the front line, and this led to burnout and many resignation.
my colleagues and I, our mental health is not strong anymore.
They gave feedback, they gave complaints, but they did not get the kind of answer they wanted. So in response to that, on July 26, 2021, junior doctors organized Hatau Doctor Contract Rally. They demanded equitable treatment, better working conditions, and career progression opportunities. Why not, right? Imagine risking your life working so hard during COVID pandemic, but you're not given a permanent position. There's no guarantee that you can continue working some more. How would you feel? Since there wasn't any long-term relief coming from the government, doctors and even nurses openly air their frustration on social media. And during the time, there were even memes and everything all to highlight on the condition of doctors during that time, talking about their declining mental health, the toxic working condition, their cap pay range, and even limited benefits and allowance. Talking about this, the other day I spoke to one doctor friend who left government practice and right now doing private, right? He was telling me this. One day he was given a task, and the task was to plan the fire escape plan for the hospital. And he told me,
"What on earth? I'm not even a fireman or something. I'm not even qualified to come up with an evacuation plan. I'm a doctor, for God's sake."
apparently, this is some of the common things that happen in government hospital. I'm not sure, it's just according to him. Why not you guys tell us in the comment if you are a doctor yourself? Is there such things happening in government hospital? So what has happened ever since? After the Hatau rally, the Madani government has taken steps to address the issue. In 2024's budget, 41.2 billion was allocated to the Ministry of Health, with more than half for the increasing of contract doctors' pay. And our PM announced that by 2026, 12,800 permanent positions will be created and 6,000 will be absorbed into permanent positions within 2024 to 2025. On top of that, on-call allowance has been increased to 80 ringgit per hour as well. And remember we talked about specialization? Well, to increase the number of specialist doctors, the ministry has incentivized junior doctors to go on their specialization studies through a full paid study leave with federal training allowance. It's called the Hadiah Latihan Persekutuan. With that, many experts also chimed in their opinions. Some suggested longer contracts of up to 10 years and matching salaries with permanent counterpart and maintaining the quality of medical school graduate. Some even proposed clock in, clock out policy for better work-life balance. All sorts of different ideas were being proposed. Now, the point is here, there are many challenges ahead in order to reform our healthcare system, because a system has been there for a very long time, so therefore there's a lot of legacy issues. To deal with it, it's going to take quite some time, and it can't run away from money. Yes, funding for healthcare. So after all that, we can see that the current government is really trying to do something to address the challenges faced by all these junior doctors, because it's really important for us. Imagine, if you do not have permanent position for doctors, do you think people will be interested to study to become doctors? And when we have less doctors, we have an aging society who need healthcare. What's the result?
It's going to be a disaster.
But to reform the healthcare system in Malaysia will be extremely challenging, because it is a system that has been there for quite some time right now. There will be a lot of legacy issue, and I hope our current government will have the political will to push it through. All this also comes down to money. We need enough funding for all these necessary reforms. And government memang not that enough money lah. And that's why I kinda agree with the whole targeted subsidy idea, because by saving up on unnecessary subsidy, we can retarget this saving to the areas that are in need. For example, healthcare and education, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But out of all the different suggestions that were thrown in by experts, there's one that I particularly agree with. Is the idea of having better quality medical schools. I think when there are too many medical schools and people are just signing up to be doctors because they think it is cool and then they just graduate like that, I think that's not very good lah. We end up having low quality doctors. And what is worse is this: when low quality doctors become doctor, and when they become senior doctor, they are also too low quality to actually teach the next generation of doctor. This will create a whole vicious cycle where it becomes bad to worse and to worse and to worse. So it's very important that we have good quality medical schools and have a good quality training systems for our doctor, because if ever one day I need to go for a surgery to receive treatment, I really hope it's a good doctor that's treating me, not a doctor who's unqualified. I believe all of you all would agree with me. So that's about it. If there's any doctor out there and you think that there's any ways that we can improve the medical system in Malaysia, or any opinions you want to share, please share with us in the comment.